Michael McGuire. I want to thank you for coming to this webinar today. What we're going to do is we're going to cover the service clock. The service clock was developed for the purpose of diagnosing the ranges or helping you diagnose the range. Several of us discovered years ago that the same board that is in the wall ovens that have a clock, the same boards are in the ranges. Now, on the wall ovens, like I did a webinar yesterday on the VDOFs, the clock can diagnose every component in the oven, but we couldn't use that in the range. So we were able to get a service clock developed, and the service clock will actually, you can plug it in and check every component on your ranges, with the exception of surface burners, obviously. But anything to do with the oven, switches, elements, fans, sensors, everything you can do with the service clock. Now, there's a couple of things that I can just get my screen up here. And okay, so I'm in Documento. I'm going to hit the Viking logo. And up here, I'm going to put service clock. Okay. And when I hit the magnifying glass, you can see we get basically 4 things that come up that you can check. Now, the bottom 2 are service videos that Scott Bedford, who used to work with us, made a few years ago on using the service clock with both the 7 series and the 5 series. Today, we're going to work on the 5 series range, which the 5 series range has the control boards in the front at the base of the unit. So you take the toe kick off, and then there's a grill in front of that. Then you can access the board. I've got a unit here, which I'm going to go to the cameras in a minute. And the idea is you plug in this clock, and then you can go ahead and operate it. So I'm going to show you how that's done. The clock kit itself, this is the, let's just read it right here. Okay. Clock kit part number 075-349-000. Okay. Now, in that clock kit, you get a service clock. It looks identical to a clock that goes in an actual wall oven, but it's programmed to be as a service clock. So you can't take it and put it in an actual oven. It comes with the buttons and knobs and instruction sheet. It also comes, now we just discovered that this sheet here has to be redone. I notified George Bolts this morning about that, and he's going to change it. There's also, they had to add a little adapter board. Again, I'm going to show you all this in a second, because some of the power boards have a 10-pin connector. Some of the power boards have a 14-pin connector. If you're working on a range that has a 10-pin connector, you can simply plug the clock directly into the power supply board, okay, with the cable that's supplied. But if you have a 14-pin power supply, which some of the models have, then there's an additional, excuse me? I thought I heard somebody say something. There's an additional cable that we're going to have to add to the kit. And I'll give you that part number in a minute. It's 017 047 000. And that's a 14-pin cable that would connect the power supply board to the adapter board, and then the adapter board gets plugged into the clock. And again, I'm going to show you that. But I just want you to have those part numbers. By the way, if everybody could just mute their microphones, I would appreciate that. My mic was off early, so you didn't hear me say that. And also, this webinar is being recorded. So, all right. So let's go ahead and close this. And okay. And we'll go ahead and, again, in this area, the service clock, you have a couple of videos that Scott had created. So you can go through those. I'm not going to go through them right now. And there's also one that talks about different versions of software. So that's where you're going to get your information there. So let's go to the actual unit right now. And let me get some pictures up here. Okay. So what you see here is I've got a VDR 548 8B range. So that's 8 burners, 48-inch, small companion oven on the left, large on the right. And I've got the camera focused at the clock right now. I don't have it plugged in because I'm going to show you how that's done. And let me just go ahead and get down to, but now you see the cable here, I've got it running down, and where it's going is it's going to where the base of the unit is. And so let me just back this up here. All right. Be temperamental. There we go. Okay, so what you've got here is this ribbon right here is the ribbon that you just saw coming from the clock that I've got on the top of the bullnose. And this is the adapter board I was talking about, okay? This adapter board, the clock itself, this connector here would plug into this plug here, which says TOD service module. I know I've got it backwards. I should turn it around. That's better. Okay, so you would plug this into this board, and then you see on the front here, there's two other Molex plugs. One says linear supply, one says switching supply. Those are the two power supply boards that Viking uses in all of our ranges. So you could have one or the other. This range happens to have a 14-pin power supply, so I needed this additional cable. This cable I'm going to plug into here, and then the other cable is plugged right here. Now I'm going to go get a close-up of that for you. So this is with the toe. I got the doors off. Toe kicks off. The front grill is off. Exposes where your boards are. This is the 5 series. The 7 series is on the back of the unit. And let me just tell you, on this clock works on the 7 series as well. On the 7 series, if you take your kick plate off and your grill over to the right side, you're going to see a ribbon that they've supplied that comes out from the back. So you don't have to pull a range to plug in the 7 series. There's already a cable there. This right here and this terminal here, these are part of the range. One is for the right oven, one's for the left oven. And this third connector here is normally vacant. There's nothing plugged in. But you plug this cable in to do the clock kit. So what I'm going to do is just go ahead and plug this in. Plug the clock in here. And I'm going to plug the power supply. So now I've got that all plugged in. Okay, now what's going to happen is I'm going to go to the switch the camera for a second. Show you what we do. Okay, let me go ahead and wrong one. Okay, so what happens is, here's my clock. I'm going to plug the ribbon in. What's going to happen is you're going to see a boot up sequence. You go through three dashes, and then you're going to see a clock version. Okay, so when you see that, now we're ready to start the operation of the oven. One thing I will point out, anybody that has done this before, the boards come with boards came with amperage sensors built in. So when we checked the heating elements on the wall oven that I ran yesterday, you could see what the amperage was on each element. I just discovered today that this range no longer has the amperage sensors. So you can operate the elements, you can hear the relays click, but you're not going to see an amperage reading. Unfortunately, you'll have to do it the old-fashioned way with an amp probe on this. Again, I just found this out that they removed the amperage sensors on it. So, okay, so here's how this operates. Oops. Okay, so when I come over here and I turn the clock, of course, the first thing you see is the frequency, 60 hertz. We should be 60 hertz here in North America. Heard somebody having 50 with a generator. So that's going to be the frequency. Then it's going to go straight to checking the boards. Now you see it says EOC4. EOC4 refers to the actual control board, which we use in ranges and ovens. And as you see in the display, it says EOC4 upper oven, EOC4 lower oven. Well, we don't have an upper and a lower oven here. We have a right and a left oven. So on the service clock, the upper oven is always going to be for your right large oven. When you're going to check the left smaller oven, you go down to here when we go and run the components. So I'm going to start with the right oven here. I'm going to hit the first button here. And you can see the first thing that comes up is a software version. Okay, this is the software version on the board. If anytime you're working on one of these and you find an issue that you can't find, you may call TechLine and they may ask you, well, what revision board do you have on that EOC4? Well, with the clock, you can tell them. Okay, sorry, I'm thinking of something else. Just forgive me. RTD is what you need next, okay? So it's RTD. So what I'm doing there is I'm checking the actual oven sensor inside the cavity. And you can see it's the temperature in this room right now is about 85 degrees. And the oven, the oven hasn't been working, but you can see that it's giving you a reading on the RTD. If the RTD was defective, it could say 300,000, could say whatever it says. This will at least tell you that the RTD is working properly. So, because without this clock, service clock, you'd have to go there with an ohm meter and ohm it out. The next is for a meat probe. So if you got a meat probe on the units, you plug the probe in, it'll tell you what the meat probe is reading. So if somebody says their meat probe's not working properly, you can plug it in, test it, and it should be also at room temperature. If it's giving you some strange reading, like 200-300 degrees, then obviously there's something wrong with the probe. Now, here is CSEL. That means the selector switch. So what we can do here is when we hit the first button, we can see it says 00. That's because the selector switch is in the off position. If I rotate to the first setting, which is bake, you see a 3-digit number comes up and then a number 1 popped up, okay? What the number 1 means is the selector is now in position 1. The 482 is kind of a potentiometer reading on that. So when the board sees 1482 and there is a variance on the 482, it says, oh, the customer wants bake. If this said we put it to bake and it went to 2, it would go ahead and turn on convection bake. So this way you can actually go ahead and turn the selector, go to the next setting, which is convection bake. You see it change to 2. And as we go through 3, I'm not going to go through all of them, but we can go all the way to self-clean and see it's going to give you number 9. So if you turn to one of the selections and it says 00, it doesn't show anything, you got a bad selector switch. So this will tell you if the selector switch is good or bad. Okay. The next is going to be your set point. Okay. This is on the thermostat. Okay. So right now, same thing I did with the selector switch. If I turn the thermostat to, let's say, I'm going to turn it to 350. I'm going to eyeball it at 350. And you can see that that's pretty much spot on. This is telling you again that the selector switch, if you set it to 350, it's at 350. It's not like if you set it for 350 and the clock says 200, then obviously you got a bad thermostat. So you can check both the thermostat and your RTD through the service clock. Okay, next is what's called the analog to digital converter. It's been in these clocks for at least 20 years, however long it's been. We've never used this. All the instruction sheets tell you to just skip past the analog to digital reading. All right, the next one, the next 5, I go to check the heating elements. Okay, so on the heating elements, you've got an inner bake, you got an outer bake, you got a inner boil, an outer boil, and a convection. So when you, on the units that do have the amperage sensor, when I hit this button, it would show you the amperage reading. Okay. I actually went with an amp probe. I don't have a camera looking at my amp probe right now, but right now the amp probe says about 5.8. Okay. The next is going to be basically, inner bake. Inner bake is 5.8, correct? Outer bake is 5.8. Then you go to inner broil. Now I can hear the relays clicking. I know you can't over the computer. But the broil right now is drawing about 9.5 amps on the inner broil. And the outer broil is drawing about 5.3. Again, it would help if they had the amperage sensors still on the board, because that way you could tell. The wall ovens do have them, and I was told that the 7 series still have them on it. But this is a good way that you can actually hear the board, see if the relay's clicking. If the relay's clicking, then we know we got power going to the relay. We don't know if the relay's good or the element's bad at this point. At that point, you have to probably pull the board, shut the power off, and go with your own volt meter. Okay, so the next one that we go after the elements is our convection fan. Now, our convection fan, as you well know, is a 2-speed, 2-direction fan motor system. Some manufacturers use 2 fans. One fan runs clockwise, one runs counterclockwise. Our one fan does both. It'll run clockwise for about 55 seconds or 50 seconds, I think it is. And then it'll stop, slow down, allow the blade to stop, then it'll switch to the other direction. So with this clock, we can check the fan. So this says convection fan high forward. I don't know if you can hear that, but the fan is running right now. I can see the blade turning, and that's running on high speed. If I go to the next click, the fan will run at the low speed. So at any point, if one of these speeds are not working, then you can stop right there and know that the fan, there's something wrong with the fan system. Now, so that's high and low. We don't skip to because this is high and low forward. The next 2 tests are not going backwards on the fan, because they want to allow some time for the fan to stop. So the next test that we go to is the cooling fan. So what this will do now is this will turn your cooling fan on. Now I can hear the fan running. You can tell if the fan's running, and then I can switch it to low speed. I can hear the fan, but it's running real low. So I know the fan is working. If I want to verify the fan's working, all I got to do is go to the next test. This is the potentiometer, the Hall effect sensor on the fan. And you can see that we're getting about 1,020, 1,080 RPMs on that fan. Should be a little bit higher. This range that I'm using came back from a customer, so I don't know why it came back. So it could have had issues with the frame or something with the fan, but I've seen the fans run a little faster than this. You can see if I go to low, our RPMs are subsequently different. Like yesterday on the cooling fan on the wall ovens, we were getting like 5,800 RPMs on high and about 3,500 on low. But at least if you have 0 here, then and you would run the fans before, you didn't hear the fans, or if you do hear the fans running, you come here and you see 0, then the Hall effect sensor is not working. You'd have to replace the fan with the Hall effect. Next is going to be a light. So what happens here is the light is coming on inside the oven. So with the light coming on inside the oven, you can check. This is just not checking the door switch. This is just checking to see if the relay on the board is opening, closing, and turning your light off. Next one is going to be the convection fan, low reverse and high reverse. So I don't need to run it because it's basically going to do the same thing. It's going to go high, for example, high and the low and the reverse position. Okay, now the latch, I will bring us down a little bit for the latch so you can see it. Okay, so when I hit the latch, you're going to see it says unlock. And if you look at the latch, you can see the arm moving. Okay. And it'll keep going until it hits the lock switch, which the display will change and go to lock. Okay, 3 dashes, lock, okay? Now, if we want to unlock it, we go out of it, back to where it says latch, and hit it again. You'll see the latch motor start to come and unlock the door. And I could hear the switches turning as well. There we go. Okay, so there's our lock, okay? Next thing we do is we have for the heat lights. Let me bring the camera back up for a second so you can see. Somebody has their microphone on. Can you mute it, please? Thank you. Okay, so we got heat lights. So when I hit that button here, you can see it turns on, it checks your oven light, right? So you can check the oven light. If somebody says the light's not working, well, you can go ahead and check it with this. If I turn it to the next one, which is C LED, that's going to be for your selector switch light. Now, door switch, I've got the doors off right now, but if I go over and depress the door switch, find the button, there it is. Okay, so I close the door, it should say close. You open up the door, it should say open. This, again, if they say the lights are not coming on when they open up the door, is it the board, is it the switch? With this, you can tell, you can check each one separately to see where the problem is. And okay, this is the test panel light for the control panel. Okay, so I'm actually turning on the lights on the control panel right now, and these are the little white lights that indicate the knobs on this model. So, so again, you can check to see if that switch is working. If the lights aren't coming on, but the switch is good, then it's not the switch, obviously. Okay, and then we're done. So that's pretty much what the service clock does. Any questions at this point? Brian?
Yeah, so Al asked, does the kit come with all the step instructions?
It does come with all the instructions. Let me just go here for a second, just briefly show you this. Let me go back to Documento. Okay. So when you get the kit, okay, now again, this kit has got to be modified. I spoke with George this morning. If you do get a kit, you want to order that ribbon cable, because I'd hate for you to go out with a clock kit and find that you need the 14 pin. That will be installed in the kit very shortly when I spoke to George. But to answer Al's question, on the instruction sheet, everything that I just told you, step by step, is in the instruction sheet. It tells exactly, and I drew this one up many years ago, and they're still using it. I was glad to see. But yes, it does go through everything. It tells you exactly what's going on step by step. So there's several pages that come with it, and then so just what I just went through, it's in the instruction sheet. Any other questions?
That's the only one we had.
That's the only one. Well, that's good. That's good. Well, anyways, this concludes our webinar. I want to thank everybody for coming. I hope you have a very good weekend and a great 4th of July. And again, a survey will be sent to you as soon as we're done here, and you'll also get a link to this webinar. So thank you very much, everybody, and have a great day.